Hey, before we get started today, I want to make sure that everybody is aware of the Ballers Live event happening in Phoenix, Arizona on Labor Day, September 4th at 7 p.m. Go to ballerslive.com to be part of our show.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from the Play Draft Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Back in the building.
So good to be back.
It's good to be back, America. We can actually say that.
I know. It makes sense now. It's good to be back, America.
Tuesday, August 29th.
We are international men.
I'll tell you what. I don't even know where to start when you talk about this trip, and maybe we'll start with the part where after a very long and torturous flight back, and compliments to Air Canada on the way there.
Oh, yeah, that was delightful.
I was going to start with thank you so much to all the Foot Clan that came out and saw us up in Toronto at the Fantasy Sports Show. It was incredibly amazing meeting. We had some people drive up from Detroit.
We had people
to come see us. I mean, it was meeting these people face to face, answering questions, shooting the breeze. I mean, it was a lot of fun getting to hang out with actual Foot Clan members.
And then after we flew back in the chicken coop for 4 hours, how was that drive home, Mike?
So I've been spending all morning trying to untilt over here because my car broke down on the way home, and then I sat in Arizona. The Arizona sun in my car for about 2 hours waiting for a tow truck down to one car. But you know what? Yeah, I'm pushing all that aside. We're here.
It's football time.
Yes.
Today's show, we finally get to weigh in on a number of the Week 3 preseason games, the film, what we saw, and really this is the most important week. So we have a lot of conclusions, judgments, findings from these games. We're going to get into the weeds on that. Have a great quick question. We're going to kind of play a little game, have some fun. And, yeah, it was a good trip. It is good to be back, and it's very funny because if you saw the live show on YouTube or you listened to it yesterday, this is just how the world works sometimes. We did a sleeper and a value show, and, you know, for this show, all we had to do was individually pick out a sleeper and a value each that we were going to bring to light. And as we were prepping for this trip, you know, it's very hard to travel in the middle of the football season when we're doing 5 shows a week plus the Footcast. So we're planning this show ahead, you know, a couple days, just building the doc out, figuring out who we're picking. And, well, out of those 6 players, first we had Mike, who picked Kareem Hunt as a sleeper before Spencer Ware ever was injured. So he had to pull that guy out of the doc because he's not a sleeper anymore.
He's wide awake.
He's wide awake.
Oh, no.
And then you're lucky I don't have that drop in right now. And then on Saturday we do the show, and Jason is just head over heels for Cameron Meredith.
It was such a good segment. I apologize to everyone who did not get to hear my articulate segment on how great Cam Meredith was going to be. Unfortunately, he will not be anything.
Yeah. So we did have a show, but it's good to be back, and it's good to talk about the preseason games, and so we're going to get into it. Now, Brooks, you've invented a new segment this morning.
That's right.
Now, we flew in late last night. I'm not sure if I got enough sleep. So, Brooks, you came up with a segment, and we're going to do it right now. So what's going on here? We're going to do a compliment sandwich.
That's right. Oh, yeah.
Everyone knows the compliment sandwich.
This is the approach you take when you are
It's not the most delicious
sandwich.
You don't really like to receive them.
Yeah, you get 2 compliments as the slices of bread. But
yeah, but
there in the middle,
the meat of the sandwich
is the hardcore truth.
Oh, we're familiar with these. They're called YouTube comments. Really like what you guys do, but you might want to change everything about what you do, but I think you guys are cool. So we're gonna do some compliment sandwiches. Now, the fun part of this is Brooks has already picked randomly a role for each of us to play, and we're going to go through 4 players, I think. Is that right, Brooks?
Yep, one from each.
We're going to have a little conversation with some of these fantasy players. We're going to talk to them about their performances. So I guess we're starting with Phillip Rivers.
Phillip Rivers. Well, listen, Phillip. Good job on this past preseason game, okay? You look much better with Keenan Allen in tow.
Absolutely.
But here's the thing, Philip. I'm looking back at how you did last year, and you were the king. You were the captain of the quarterback 2 ship. I need a quarterback 1 on my fantasy team, Phil.
But with all due respect, you have aged very well into your later years. Still a fantasy-relevant player. Still a player that slips in draft due to that age, but you have aged well, and you are worthy of late-round draft consideration. So some of the narratives.
How's that taste,
for Phillip Rivers?
Phil?
I know he's making
Does it go down?
His grimace face.
Yeah, well, of course he's making his grimace face. It's the only face he owns.
That's his face.
Brooks, can you get Theo Riddick in here?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Brooks.
Have a seat,
Really
Theo.
appreciate that.
I didn't know what was happening.
All
right, I'll jump in here, Theo. I'll start things off. 2 years ago, you were tied for the league lead in running back receptions. You were with 80. You were tied for Danny Woodhead. I mean, last year you were spectacular. Catching all kinds of passes.
That is so great, Theo, with all that great pass catching role. Only, I think you're not going to be the only pass catcher this year. And as a passing specialist without passing volume, I don't really think you have much use to me, Theo.
That being said, when I look at you and your track record, I would expect to pay more. But you're very inexpensive, and so that's one of your best qualities in the draft. You don't cost very much. Amir Abdullah's track record isn't pristine here, so yeah, I'll take you in the later rounds. No big deal.
I'll give Theo a bonus.
Please do.
Compliment. He was the RB27 last year in 10 games played. Half-point PPR.
What do you think an actual NFL player does if he's having this conversation and you tell him that, Brooks? Do you think you just nod? Oh, thank you. Thank you very
he's
much.
loving it.
I was the what?
All right. How about T.Y. Hilton? T.Y. Hilton, look.
Come on in.
T.Y., can I call you Ty? You are
No, you can't.
No? All right. You are very, very fast. And you've been pretty decent as a wide receiver 2 or better for the last 4 years running.
But listen, T.Y., we need you here at the office. We need you to familiarize yourself with the end zone, okay? We need you to spend more time in the end zone this year. It's one of those things that you struggle with. I mean, we love how fast you are, but you're going to need to become more familiar with the end zone.
But we will never forget what you did for us last year. You led the league in receiving yards. You beat out Julio Jones and Odell Beckham. So thank you so much for that, Mr. Hilton.
Keep it up. All right, one more. Bring in Tyler.
I feel like that one needed to be like the Big Mac, where it needed another layer of, but if Andrew Luck is gone, you're no good to me, and then another compliment to just make it like a...
Sometimes the middle part of the sandwich is much larger than the two ends.
It's like a full pounder. This is a full pound burger right here.
Like sometimes you have the club sandwich with the toothpicks in it. All right, Tyler Eifert, come on in. Oh, my gosh.
All right, Tyler, look, best thing I could say about you, you are a very handsome man. That's it.
You're going back to like 2 years ago, Mike's favorite compliment paid to Tyler Eifert. Look, this is going to be meaty.
Yeah.
Tyler, very good looking, as Jason said. Wonderful performances the past few years while you're on the field. But look, you got to get on the field, buddy. You've already missed some time. You were a random scratch because the coaches wanted you to focus on basically just being capable of playing football in week 1. And, look, we need more from you. We need consistency. We don't just need you to flash for 6-7 games a year and then ride the bench, buddy.
That being said, we will never forget your breakout season. 13 receiving touchdowns, fellas. I think this handsome business has gone a little bit too far. This guy is a touchdown monster.
All right.
And I love you, Mr. Eifert.
All right, let's talk news.
News and notes from around the league.
We are going to dive into some big conclusions for preseason week 3 right after the news as well. I'm excited to talk about just so many circumstances, some things that have come to light. We haven't even had the chance to talk about the huge Cameron Meredith injury. So torn ACL, other damage, air casted off the field. Really disappointing because this is a player that I think we're all excited about, not just the draft value, but the player himself, right?
Yes.
The player that he was on film, the player that he was as a route runner, somebody that Matt Harmon, reception perception, really respected what he had done last year with really bad quarterback play. These are all the arguments Jason was making to make him that value, and yet here we are, Cameron Meredith off the field, and everybody wants to know, look, is it Kevin White? Is it Kendall Wright? Is it don't touch somebody's going to have to step up there. There's going to be a pass catcher in Chicago. So who is it?
I'll take my late shot. I'll grab Kevin White. He is a victim of injuries, really. I mean, when he played, you saw some target volume getting thrown his way. So that's the guy that I will go with.
If you had to pick somebody, you're going Kevin White.
Yeah, but I'll throw in the sneaky Zach Miller, who he's going to make the team, it appears. So, and he's probably the most proven pass catcher, the seasoned pass catcher.
We've talked about Charles Clay in Buffalo being the beneficiary of the loss at the wide receiver position. You could have a similar translation there, and
I definitely think Zach Miller is probably the best pass catcher there. I mean, look, what's crazy about the other options that are there is they are all like pretty decent when they're on the field, when they're getting work, but super injury prone.
So Kendall Wright
never been able to stay healthy. Kevin White we've yet to see him, and then Zach Miller. So
Victor Cruz,
Victor Cruz and
Marcus Wheaton.
Yeah, you got a hodgepodge there. Honestly, for when I looked at this news and was saying, okay, who's the next man up, I came more to the conclusion that I don't really believe any of them will step up. Obviously, there will be receptions, on the team. It's an NFL team, but the problem is, I think the team is hurt a lot, and so I'm even more afraid of Jordan Howard. If you can't move the ball through the air, then you stack the boxes even more.
Spencer Ware likely needs season-ending surgery. Kareem Hunt.
Yes.
A lot of hype. I see Kareem Hunt in the top 12, 14 range with this offense. And the main question that people have asked is now rank in a redraft league the rookie running backs in this upcoming season, because Fournette and Mixon, you've got McCaffrey, you've got Hunt. Dalvin Cook. So
I think Hunt should be number one. Out of all of these rookies, he would be my number one. If we're just talking redraft, he's number one in my rankings. And, Leonard Fournette to me is a guy that is super talented and guaranteed a role where he's going to touch the ball a lot. That's why he was previously my number one. But he is not the pass catcher that Kareem Hunt is. He's not on the offense that Kansas City can be. He doesn't have the head coach that Andy Reid has been, that shows he always gets value out of the running back position. Those reasons are why I think at the end of the day in a redraft league, whether it's standard or full point PPR and anywhere in between, Kareem Hunt is the first running back that I would be taking off the board. And the thing that I love about him is that while I think his ranking is worthy of that late second round, you don't usually have to take him there. I know if you're in a really hardcore league and people are all about the news, or you got Kansas City fans.
He's the new hotness.
Know your league, he's the new hotness. But I see a lot of times him being able to be picked up in the fourth round. I tweeted out, if Kareem Hunt should be drafted in every fourth round that he is in.
Yeah, it depends on where you're drafting. That's the decision. I've had a lot of people have to take him in the second because they wanted him. But the way that where they were in the round was going to force the issue.
I just want to remind you. So last year, I know Spencer Ware, he felt like a disappointment for fantasy.
He didn't get the touchdowns.
But here's his other numbers. In 14 games, 214 attempts, 921 yards, and 33 receptions. I mean, Kareem Hunt is going to get a lot of work. And what was the downside for Spencer Ware was 3 rushing touchdowns. Now, we've talked about how he was due to regress back to the mean of, like, he really should have scored more touchdowns. It was a complete fluke that he did not. So Kareem Hunt, I mean, he should easily finish as at least a low-end running back one.
All right, you want to make some money, flip that cap around. Matty Stafford, now the highest-paid player in the NFL, 5-year, $135 million extension.
Is that how all you have to do to make money is you just turn your hat around?
Just ask Jeff Fisher.
Ooh, I love it.
You get a job.
$90+ million guaranteed money
It's always
What?
it's always a funny thing though when you say
I had
paid.
missed that.
You know who the highest paid player is? It's the last one to sign a contract.
Right,
I
of
mean, that's
course.
the case in the NFL now.
Last quarterback.
So Matty Stafford, 5-year deal,
Can't even call him
and
Stafford.
he's locked down as the quarterback there. I think no surprises. All right, couple of quarterback confirmations. Look, if you have been playing the game with Kessler and Osweiler and who to sign, you're in a dynasty league, you need a two QB league. DeShone Kizer's named the starter. This is the fantasy reality for DeShone Kizer is if you're going to run the ball, you're going to move up regardless of how productive you are through the air. This is the Tyrod Taylor story. If DeShone Kizer picks up, if he's a 300-400-yard guy this year on the ground or more, you're talking about quarterback 15 potential. Josh McCown also named the starter of the Jets. Surprise.
Yeah, one of the things that I like about the Kizer signing, the Kizer decision, was that Hugh Jackman said that he's got a long leash. They're not going to
did you actually call him?
Oh, I did.
Yeah,
Hugh
I was about to say that.
Hugh Jackman Jackson.
He's back.
He has a very long leash. He said, so that means when he comes out and has rookie mistakes, which he will, they're not going to pull him. I think that's a wise decision because he is the only quarterback.
Only decision to make.
You
can't start a rookie and then pull him off the field.
And he's the only quarterback that has the talent to develop into someone that could make your franchise good. So I love this decision all the way around. I think it does help Isaiah Crowell, who I've been a little bit down on because he is he is a mobile quarterback that defenses have to look at scrambling. And usually those type of quarterbacks aren't necessarily the best for the pass catchers like Duke Johnson, although that's more in the scat back role. Duke Johnson is used pretty much as a wide receiver.
The essence of what we're doing in the weekly rewind today, when we look at these preseason games, is I want to convey to you, the listener, where ranking adjustments have taken place due to performances this preseason and conclusions we make from the game. One of the conclusions from the Kizer equation,
I hope you're going where I went,
is a slight bump for Corey Coleman.
Yes.
Corey Coleman has a rapport with Kizer. It was evident in the game. It's something that this team wants to build around for their offensive presence. Kenny Britt is not the future of the wide receiver core in Cleveland. Coleman and Kizer, that combination, I think you're going to see a dependency from Kizer, and it made me move Coleman up when this decision came through.
And
fair?
I
get Mike, that's where you wanted me to go?
That's the game one of the games that I was assigned to break down, so I didn't want to jump into it just yet.
Yeah, I was going to say in college at Notre Dame, when he had Will Fuller, Kizer was supposed to be this #1 locked and loaded player. He's able to utilize those speedy receivers with his strong arm, so I like Corey Coleman a lot.
All right, and finally, Rex Burkhead, CJ Prosise, Eric Ebron, and Brandon Marshall all returned to practice.
Hey, Ebron. It's good to see you.
Ebron is
hey, he got in August. He made it by a day or two. He was out since July 31st.
Something like that.
Come on, man.
One of the things that is tough to do, though, when you're evaluating players in the offseason is when players start to become injury-prone, like Josh Doxson getting banged up or John Brown, right? Like John Brown might be the best example of this where, you have an injury history, you have an injury concern, you had him miss time, and then he comes out and splashes this past weekend. He can move all over the rankings because you just want to see if the player's going to be on the field or not when it comes to week 1 of the NFL season, because some players, it's just going to come down to health. Eric Ebron, if he's on the field and the snap count is there, you're going to see a very proficient tight end, and you're going to see red zone opportunities with the richest man in football, Matthew Stafford.
All right, well, we ready to get into the rewind?
Yes.
Before we do, we want to thank today's sponsor, Indochino. You've heard me talk about them several times in the past because I love the custom-made, custom-fitting, tailored suits from Indochino. Everybody out there, every man needs a good suit. It doesn't matter if you have a job where you wear a suit every day and then get a bunch of them, or whether you just need one for your big events, the weddings coming up, whatever it is, make sure that you
Maybe you're stepping into an interview with the fantasy footballers and getting a compliment sandwich.
And the difference between one of the bunching up in the back around the neck kind of suits that you get, just off a rack and Indochino tailored suits for your body is Really impressive. When you wear yours, you'll know. All you need to do is visit Indochino.com or drop by one of their 9 North American showrooms, pick from hundreds of fabrics, submit your body measurements, and then you get it. This week, our listeners get any premium Indochino suit for only $379 at Indochino.com when entering Footballers at checkout, which is 50% off the regular price for made-to-measure premium suit, and shipping is free. That's Indochino.com, promo code Footballers. Any premium suit, $379.
I've seen you in your Indochino suit.
Yeah.
You're looking good.
You'll never have to wear a badly fitting suit again. Get ready to look like $1 million.
And we want to thank Pristine Auction, the best memorabilia site in the entire known universe. Ladies and gentlemen, I am scrolling right now.
Children of all ages.
Through the daily auctions, because this is what they have. They have week-long auctions, but they also have these daily where there's new stuff every single day. And I'm not surprised. The Pristine Auction is bringing the fire yet again. I mean, signed Mike Evans jersey, signed Jordan Howard jersey, signed Le'Veon Bell.
Do they just have your credit card on file, Mike?
They may or may not know me. I have a retinal scan built in over at Pristine Auction. I have to go there so many times, but you never worry about the signature. It is always 100% authentic. They use the best authenticators in the world. You head over to Pristine Auction. That's Pristine auction.com. You make a completely free account. It's free. And when you do it, let them know that the Fantasy Footballers sent you.
Breaking news.
Whoa.
Big news, guys.
What is this?
Vance McDonald has been traded to the
What?
Pittsburgh Steelers.
What? Yes. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
What?
Yep.
Oh, man. That's fun. This morning.
They gave up a 4th-round pick for Vance McDonald to put him on the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yes.
Dad.
Hey, that's huge news because, listen, I
Mike's
believe
face
Vance
melted
McDonald
off.
is a very good tight end. I mean, I was asking Andy
Clearly,
this morning.
Pittsburgh does. You don't give up a 4th for a tight end at this stage unless
Who just got paid. I mean, like,
Yeah.
so his contract is not just, I got a cheapie.
Yeah.
No.
Wow, that's big
So
news.
instant analysis, guys.
Instant analysis is, I mean, if you're in a tight end premium league, I would, where you start multiples and they get bonuses, then I would pick him up. Those are normally deep and rare leagues, but I would definitely keep an eye on him in week 1. Jesse James has had good reports lately.
Jesse James is still going to be the guy. They're going to have to share there, and I'm not excited about the fantasy implications yet. But very interesting trade, and obviously
Almost
it changes.
makes me wonder if something happened with Jesse James.
Yeah, they know who Jesse James is. He's not a dynamic pass catching. He's not a move tight end. Vance McDonald is a move tight end. I mean, the Steelers, goodness,
Their offense is-
Big Ben. If you don't come through with 7,000 passing yards this year, you have failed.
Minimum.
I mean, that is ridiculous. Woo!
Weekly Rewind.
Sorry to cut you off there.
No,
Mike.
no,
You're
Mike, my goodness,
you got fantasy points coming out your ears over there.
I'm getting sweaty.
Are you moving?
Are you moving myself?
Are you moving Big Ben?
No, I mean I already had him.
You're just confirming the excitement.
Yeah, he's now just cemented the other side of my number 6 QB.
That's a beautiful thing. All right, let's start off. Where are we going here? Jason, you want to kick this off? We're going to talk some look, the Spencer Ware repercussions have gone through fantasy football. Seahawks and Chiefs faced off in week 3.
Yeah, watched all the snaps of this game last night. Had a bunch of big takeaways on both sides of the ball. So we'll start over at Kansas City because we've already been talking a little bit about Kareem Hunt. He looked really good to me, which, when you pass the eyeball test and you have the opportunity, that's great. One of the things that I really liked seeing, I watched the game after knowing that Spencer Ware was injured. And what was interesting was that Kareem Hunt was in on snap 3. Before Spencer Ware was injured, they were already showing, look, this guy is going to be involved. He's going to be involved early. So, he was in early. He looked good. Tyreek Hill is a player that stood out in that game because he was
Good or bad?
Both. It's both good and bad because he was exceptionally important to the offense moving the ball. He was a go-to look, and he got the targets. So that's the good half. Here's the bad half. He dropped all those targets. I mean, I'm talking bad drops, hit him in the hands, watch him go down. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of some of those rare games where John Brown, who's got great hands, makes exceptional catches, he'll have those games where all of a sudden you can't get him to catch the ball. And he had 3 drops in the first half, and 2 of the 3 were just straight
egregious.
Egregious. That being said,
I like the chance to drop the ball. That ball's coming his way.
Yeah, don't overreact on the drops. Realize that you can't drop the ball unless you got the ball thrown your way, which means you were getting open and you were involved.
It's Ted Ginn's motto.
Yeah, exactly. Alex Smith, man alive, if you watch the box score, and that's how you're getting your information, he didn't have a very good game. But I wrote down a note here that was like Alex Smith had like 10 drop passes. It was not just Tyreek Hill. Travis Kelce dropped 2 balls that were very catchable. Albert Wilson, Chris Conley. It was like nobody could catch the ball in Kansas City. On the other side of the ball, the Seattle Seahawks, there was a lot of – I mean, look, that offense is looking good to me. They're looking healthy other than Thomas Rawls wasn't there, but Russell Wilson.
He looks so smooth this preseason.
I mean, he was throwing the ball downfield. Jimmy Graham looks involved in great ways. And I'm going to throw this out there because a lot has been said on Chris Carson.
Absolutely.
He has
running
looked
back
explosive,
for the
rookie
Seattle
running back for the
Seahawks.
Seattle Seahawks. He's been involved with the first-team offense. And I'm going to throw this out there, and I think you'll be surprised. But I think Eddie Lacy looked terrific. When he got his chances in the situations they needed him in, whether it was 1st and 10 and he'd break off a 7-yard run, or whether it was, a 3rd and 1 and they need just a few and the boxes are stacked and he's getting in there. To me, I am not afraid of Eddie Lacy, and he's dropping like a rock. He's dropping
like a rock.
Dropping like a rock. So if he's late, I mean, if he's dropping into those, that 8th, 9th, 10th round, you're talking about a guy who very well, when week 1 comes, they might say, okay, this is our guy. And he's passed the eyeball test.
A healthy, committed Eddie Lacy is a top-tier running back in the NFL. We have years of evidence. I mean, he was still good last year before he lost the season to injury, especially for fantasy purposes. So I like hearing that.
Yeah, I mean, for right now, I am a believer in the Seahawks offense, and I want those pieces. I want Russell Wilson. Doug Baldwin has looked good. Jimmy Graham looked great. Eddie Lacy looked good. Chris Carson looked good. I mean, there wasn't anything that I saw on that side of the ball that was like, oh, man, they're having struggles. And their offensive line, sure, it's the same as it's been for the last, 5 years. Terrible. But they know how to deal with that. And when Russell Wilson's healthy and mobile, there were just so many plays where it was like, oh, the defenders got right through, and he just did his little, WYSIWYG turn around and run, and nobody can catch him.
All right. Any other ranking adjustments that you would say that you made from that game?
From that game, the only ranking adjustment would have been the massive ranking in Kareem Hunt. It just
Where
solidified.
do you have him, Jay?
Kareem Hunt right now is my running back 14.
Okay.
All right, Mike.
I'll jump in here.
What game are we going on to now?
Browns, Buccaneers.
By the way, I do want to say one thing really quick because we talked about the Vance McDonald news, but I think you need to pay attention now.
Kittle?
Yeah, George Kittle, the tight end for the San Francisco 49ers, is next up on the depth chart. And so when you talk about involvement in that offense I'll talk a little bit about the 49ers in a bit, but you don't have an offense replete with a ton of competent pass catchers, so something to pay attention to.
Sure.
And Brian Hoyer can find his tight end.
So Browns versus Bucks, Jacquizz started. And so I think that we have put to bed any fears that these first 3 games, when Doug Martin is out, Jacquizz Rodgers is going to be the starter. He's going to be heavily involved, and he looks ready to play. So draft him late, and he's a perfect fill-in for your first 3 weeks. Now, DeShone Kizer, you talk about Alex Smith, about how you look at the box score. It didn't look like he played
It looked
that great.
bad.
Yeah, for Alex Smith. The same for DeShone Kizer. His box score, it came out very, very poor. But if you actually watched him play, he was missing plays just narrowly. And I'm talking the kind of like a 25-yard touchdown, perfectly thrown on the edge. The receiver just didn't get the foot down. Later on, he was he was pinpointing the edges just a little bit outside, just a bit outside, and the receiver couldn't pull it down in bounds. And then a couple drops. I mean, he looked very sharp. Now, he's going to make rookie mistakes, so I'm not labeling him a quarterback one, but he is definitely interesting. And the Corey Coleman situation, I have not been a huge supporter of Corey Coleman this offseason because I was concerned about his usage. But DeShone Kizer is going to find Corey Coleman. He found him a ton in this preseason game. So he's going to move up my rankings. Kizer will likely move up my rankings as well. And Isaiah Crowell, he's ripping off some big runs.
He had 11 carries in that game.
Yeah, he looks like he will benefit absolutely from the upgrade at the offensive line and DeShone Kizer as well. And the other takeaway is, unfortunately for Crowell, Duke Johnson looked pretty solid. I mean, he had a huge run called back. It was a third and 2. So I mean, you're not necessarily expecting a run, where they catch the defense off guard, but it was called back. So the big takeaway is
3rd and 2.
Yeah,
I would expect a run.
Well, you're not always just the formation was not set up to look like a run. But so the big takeaways for me are Corey Coleman is going to move up, and DeShone Kizer will go into that middle QB2 range for me.
And let me ask you about Tampa Bay, because their offense has not been what people hoped or expected, but it's the preseason vanilla schemes, vanilla offense, working through
vanilla
some
ice.
things. Vanilla ice. What did you
So Winston looked like Jameis Winston, which is a guy who looks unstoppable. I mean, laser passes coming out right where they need to be, and then a horrifically bad interception. I mean, that's
the resume.
Until he cleans those up, he can't be a top quarterback one because there's just too many mistakes happening for Jameis Winston. But the talent is there.
I think the problem with the mistakes, it's not like, I mean, Drew Brees had a lot of interceptions, right? So it's not like the interceptions by themselves make you not capable as a fantasy player. Luck had that a couple of years back too. It's what the coaching staff will do with your mistakes, which is take the ball out of your hands in terms of the game plan. They can't trust Winston until he doesn't make those kind of decisions.
Right, and then he had another one of his spectacular the edge rusher gets right in, he spins out, scrambles, looks like he's making the worst possible decision, and then first down strike. So I mean, you're going to get ups and downs with Jameis Winston.
Anything else from this game? You want me to talk about Packers and Broncos?
No, we move on.
All right, I watched the Broncos and the Packers game. On the Packers side of the ball, this was interesting because Aaron Rodgers played 6 minutes. Okay, he played 6 minutes.
So he only had 4 touchdowns.
Right. Let me put it this way. I believe the confidence level on Aaron Rodgers is there. I think he's going to start for the Packers.
Nice.
No, but he's in there 6 minutes, so you can't make a lot of passing game conclusions with Aaron Rodgers playing 6 minutes in this game. You did see Randall Cobb in zone target from Aaron Rodgers. He looked very spry, made a couple of catches. We've talked about Randall Cobb being kind of the sneaky second option potential. It might not be Devontae Adams all the time. Adams had his classic good catch, bad drop situation. But what I did see from the Packers side of the ball that is worthy of, I think, a ranking adjustment was continued passing of the eye test for Montgomery. Montgomery looks bigger. He looks stronger. He looks like a running back. And he was much more dynamic than Jamal Williams in this game. Now, Jamal Williams made some good plays out of the backfield, Hundley finding him on dump after dump after dump. And in the open field with a head of steam, Jamal Williams looked okay. He does not look like he's on the same level as Montgomery. Montgomery even lined up wide a few times. And you're just seeing a heavy utilization of Montgomery and a capable utilization. Found his way into the end zone on a goal line carry 2 yards out, pushed his way in. He looks bigger, faster, stronger, capable. Needs to stay healthy. But much like, Jason saw with Eddie Lacy, a player that you're kind of up and down on due to other players in the depth chart, my confidence level on Montgomery went up seeing this game and seeing what they wanted to do with this first-team offense. So I think Williams is a capable back, but I think Montgomery is the back to own.
Yeah, he as well for me, he's one of the few guys that has needed a ranking change based on preseason. I think he looked very, very capable. I have been a Ty Montgomery doubter. I mean, he's not super low in my rankings, but lower than he should be. He's the clear starting running back for the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers, and he's a great pass catcher. So if you're any kind of PPR half point, I think he's not going to let you down. All right, we want to talk.
Hold on.
Oh, all right.
I didn't get to talk about the Broncos.
The Broncos, man. I got to hear how good C.J. Anderson looked.
I'm just excited.
So the other side of the ball, the Denver Broncos. Look, it's strange to see Jamal Charles in a new uniform, and I watched every snap, and I watched with care on Jamal Charles because I wanted to see what we saw out on the field. He looked a bit hesitant to me, but what impressed me out of Jamal Charles was –
And he's made the 53-man
He's made the 53,
roster.
and he should have. You watch him and you say – this is an NFL running back still. You didn't see the level of burst that you'd seen in the past with the Chiefs and the hesitant running, an awkward open field cut after a big run, so good and bad there. But what I liked from Jamal Charles is watching the plays where he didn't get the ball. Not only the route running on those plays, but the blitz pickups. He took on a few linebackers and got crushed and held up against it. And that, to me, is why he made the 53. You watched him out there on third down, and he saved Trevor Siemian a few times in this game. Now, to talk about Trevor Siemian, sometimes you hear quarterbacks analyzed as surgeons, right? Pick apart the defense, precision. I don't want Trevor Siemian doing surgery operating on me. Look, this was a play. This is like giving your surgeon 3 or 4 Starbucks before the procedure. It was shaky, guys. It was Brock Osweiler level of up and down. And really bad interception across the middle of the field. Some horribly misplaced throws, bad reads, and then he would get into a string of 3 or 4 quick hitters. I'm telling you, Trevor Siemian he should just be giving gifts to Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders in every single play. But it is a shaky offensive situation there. I am concerned with what you're going to get. I think you're going to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, the ugly is Paxton Lynch. He was terrible in this game.
He's hurt now, too.
Terrible open field play, running the ball, bad fumbles. So Simeon's got the job, but he looked really shaky to me. And then Anderson looked good.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Failed on some short-yarded situations.
Oh, come on.
He did.
All right.
This is the compliment sandwich for Anderson. Looked fine. Certainly the lead back, cemented in that role. Failed on some short-yarded situations, but made a few plays. Look, we know what we have in C.J. Anderson at this point.
Do we?
We do.
Yeah, I think
of course
we
you do. You know what you have on the field. This guy's not going to be somebody that beats you to the edge. He's a guy who's just an every-down bruiser who he's a capable enough pass catcher. The offensive line didn't look that good to me for Denver. So, yeah, you know what you have in C.J. Anderson. He's a player that, he's going to benefit from the positive game scheme, and I think he's going to disappear a little bit when they're down. Now the defense looks great, so they're probably going to be in a lot of games. So we can leave it at that.
All right, Jay.
Oh, I get to talk about it. Well, we're from Arizona, and I'm going to talk about the game between the Cardinals and the Atlanta Falcons. There was not too much to pick up from this game, to be honest. There were a couple of nuggets, and here are the things that stuck out. From the Arizona side of the ball, I really do believe that their pass defense is going to be super legit. If you want a good, defense special teams type of
are we talking like I'm avoiding them with my pass catchers?
I think you might get to that point. At the beginning of the season, I'm not avoiding any team until I've been, proven otherwise. But when it comes to pass catchers and quarterbacks, not necessarily running backs, but the passing game against the Cardinals, I think it's going to really struggle. Tyrann Mathieu looks back. I mean, he had, for the second preseason game in a row, an incredible interception. That's going to be hard when you've got a good pass rush there as well. I think they are susceptible to the run, but this is preseason, and so the scheming of the defense, and right now you're just seeing the athletes on the field. So David Johnson, he had like one snap and then was out of the game again. It was just, hey, you're our starter. Please don't get hurt. Get out of here. So we got to see a lot of Chris Johnson, and if you look at the box score, he ended up with a pretty okay game, but he was bad. He was not actually good. There were a couple plays where a nice hole opened up and he ran for a good chunk of yards. But most of the time, when he needed to outrun someone, when he needed to run through someone to pick up an extra yard, he didn't look to me to be very capable. Also, in the first quarter, he fumbled the ball 2 times. 2 times. So what it said to me was a little bit of a worry of like, man, if David Johnson isn't here, he is super important to this offense. When he was out, there were some struggles there. I know a lot's been made about John Brown. He had 2 receptions for 2 touchdowns and a good chunk of yards. You got to keep in mind there were only 2 targets. He was not really involved that much. He just happened to score a touchdown on both of those, and one of those was actually from Drew Stanton once the game was in a different sphere, in a different
offense.
Well, no, it just
different sphere.
A different
the game transported
yes, to a different round ball. So from the Cardinals side, that's what I would say. Chris Johnson, he had some good stuff, mostly bad. The defense looked really good.
Let's talk fantasy implications for the John Brown performance. I mean, you have to be happy. Not only is he on the field running routes, the play in the left corner of the end zone was absolutely incredible body control. So we've moved him way down out of fear. Where does he belong? What's the upside? I mean, people have asked, what's the real ceiling for a guy like him?
Well, the real ceiling is genuinely, a low-end wide receiver 1. If we're talking, what is his cap? Because we've seen this before. We've already seen him as a wide receiver 2, and he can dominate. He has the talent, the skills. So when you're talking about
a 10th round pick right now,
yeah,
do you want him in the 10th? Do you want him in the 8th?
I think I'm fine waiting until the 10th and grabbing him there. There's still guys that I am very confident in their production in the 8th, in the 7th, and in the 9th. Those areas usually have guys that I am, taking Emmanuel Sanders type. If he drops there, like I'm confident.
Sanders
he's
in
playing.
the 8th?
Yeah.
Oh,
his average draft position's in the 7th.
He's 708 right now. He's just right around the 8th.
I mean,
round.
oh my!
But that's my point. Is like I would much rather go with a guy I'm confident is going to help my fantasy team. But when you're in those late rounds and you're doing the dart throws, John Brown is the type of huge upside you can go with. But he just wasn't. He wasn't the first read while Carson was on the field and it was the first team offense. He didn't look like the first read the way he had in years past. To me, he was the second or third read.
All right, Atlanta, they struggled. Their offense struggled. We talked about the defense for Arizona. They're 0-3 this preseason. Do you read much into these offensive struggles so far? You don't have Kyle Shanahan, who, by the way, lit it up with San Francisco. We're going to talk about that game in a minute. But what are your conclusions, ranking implications, fantasy implications from what you saw from the starting offense of the Atlanta Falcons in this matchup?
It looked like what I had expected in the sense that I've been calling for a lot of regression from the Falcons and from Matt Ryan specifically. I think you bring up a good point with the offensive coordinator change. They want to stay aggressive. We've heard this all the time. Like, they're not going to back off with the offensive coordinator change. It looked like they were forcing aggression. They'd throw the ball deep a lot, and Matt Ryan was off. Some of this was good defense. I just said the Arizona Cardinals defense looked good, but there were just some bad throws. I mean, some really, really bad throws. Matt Ryan was 4 for 11 with an interception. So, I'm not going to move him down in my rankings, but I'm already the lowest of the three of us. I think he's my 6th or 7th quarterback right now. I don't expect huge things for this offense, but it did seem like they missed Devonta Freeman, who was not there. Tevin Coleman, he looked good.
Great, yeah.
I mean, Tevin Coleman's a good running back. So I didn't take away much from the Falcons. I'm not moving Julio down. I'm really not moving anyone down.
Okay. All right. Hey, I'll jump in here with the San Francisco-Minnesota game. Mike, I'll let you close us out with the Buffalo-Baltimore game.
Okay.
But I want to, on the heels of Kyle Shanahan, I want to talk about what we saw in this game. And look, we've been big Brian Hoyer supporters in the past. Last year, he was great.
Yes,
in Chicago. Great for fantasy and a very good quarterback, competent quarterback for that offense on a team.
Was it 3 straight 300-yard games?
Absolutely, yeah. And in this game, you saw a lot of what I think you're going to see for the regular season. Now, on the San Francisco side of the ball, let's get this out of the way. Carlos Hyde is 100% cemented as the feature back in this offense. Matt Breida ran as the number 2 in this game. Wasn't special, Joe Williams is out of the picture right now on that depth chart. Carlos Hyde had some impressive pass catches in this game too. So I was impressed on that side. Now, Pierre Garçon, he's a player that I think I moved up a little bit in this game. Might as well call him the slant man. I mean, he was just targeted early and often. I mean, I was so impressed with Garçon's involvement and the utilization. We know what Kyle Shanahan does with that wide receiver 1 spot. And then he was willing to take deep shots on a guy that can fly. I mean, Marquise Goodwin, he's going to be the Taylor Gabriel of the NFC West. It's a player that is going to be going deep often, play action fake with Carlos Hyde and a deep ball touchdown, perfect throw by Hoyer. He was carving up this defense, and this is not a pathetic defense. This is the 3rd preseason game, and you got Minnesota's defense, and they were getting carved up. So from a fantasy perspective, we know that San Francisco, we don't expect them to be a dominant force or a competing force. But Brian Hoyer has always been fantasy relevant, and I think you're going to see that again this year. So teams that are talking about, look, if you're in a deeper league, if you're in a league with Andrew Luck and you might not have a starter, you just need to realize Brian Hoyer can be part of your streaming rotation this season. I loved what I saw out of that offense. On the other side of the ball, I got one thing to say and one thing only. Wow, you did not go. I was expecting. I'm not the singer. You guys have to jump in there. Look.
Sorry, I bailed on you, Jason.
Mike, you and I were talking about this. Now, I've already been very pronounced with my disagreement with you on Stephon Diggs.
Yes.
Yeah, I am further along those lines. Look, Adam Thielen's utilization in this game is what stood out to me. Adam Thielen was in the slot frequently. Adam Thielen was used on end arounds. Adam Thielen was found when plays broke down. He was somebody that Sam Bradford looked to early, often, and late in the play. I think Thielen in the 10th, 11th round is a better pick than Stephon Diggs in the 6th round. I know the value that you think is there for Stephon Diggs. Look, I'm not reading into what Diggs did in this game because he was awful. I mean, he dropped 2 wide open passes. He had a Tyreek Hill type of game. That doesn't matter. Diggs is a great player. Absolutely great. But I'm making a decision in this passing offense from a fantasy perspective to take the best value in the passing game. And to me, it was Adam Thielen. They paid him. They used him. He looked good. The only other takeaway from this game – go ahead. No, jump in.
It's shocking to me what they have done. I mean, they've essentially turned Thielen into the slot receiver. I mean, that was Stephon Diggs' home. He was breaking out as a slot wide receiver. So it's interesting that Minnesota is taking this approach that they're saying, okay, Diggs, you're going to play on the outside. So it's
and Thielen was on the outside too. When they had one wide receiver set, it was Thielen as the lone outside guy.
Right. So I mean, it makes me a little worried.
A little pause
about Stephon Diggs because this is a new role. Now, having said that, as the outside receiver, the chances for big plays is there. I mean, he
took a shot down the field.
Exactly.
Diggs.
So I'm not bailing at all on Stephon Diggs, but it's certainly I was not expecting Minnesota to say, okay, we're gonna see what Thielen can do in the slot.
Yeah, he's the biggest move up for me. And then I know people will want to know what Latavius Murray looked like on the field because you had Murray's first snap came essentially 2 minutes into the second quarter. So Dalvin Cook was cemented and in place for the entirety of the first-team offense's drives, first whole quarter. I think that's what you can expect. I think Dalvin Cook is going to be a pretty heavy workload type of player. Murray was involved more in the passing game than the running game, and he looked fine. He absolutely looked fine. But to me, I think I was a little bit more confident in Dalvin Cook leaving this game, despite the fact that Murray is now healthy and on the field, and McKinnon was just a every once in a while rotational kick return type of player. So you guys have any thoughts or questions from that game, players that you were interested in that you wanted thoughts on?
Yeah, I've been a little disappointed in seeing the utilization of Kyle Rudolph through the preseason because he's a guy that I still think is a great value for where he's going in the draft.
He was nowhere.
But yeah, he was not really used at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things where I think they have. Look, you didn't have Dalvin Cook, and you had to hurt Stephon Diggs. I think there's going to be a lower quantity of need, not capability. Kyle Rudolph is capable. I just worry about the need there. It's a split decision thing for me. Like when I'm facing down Kyle Rudolph or some of these other players like a Zach Ertz, my hesitation on the quantity of work that Rudolph will get if this offense is healthy and doing what they want to do.
It's one of those really tough things because you now have a lot of capable weapons in this offense, a lot of guys who I want to see break out, and I don't know that Sam Bradford, can do enough offensively to warrant that many successful fantasy players. There won't be enough touchdowns to go around to make Thielen and Diggs and Rudolph and Cook
and Laquan Treadwell was
relevant.
Laquan Treadwell was heavily involved. Laquan Treadwell had the first pass catch of the game.
I remember him.
He had a couple in the middle of the field. You're going to see him used. That's another player that basically is apparating out of thin air for this offense that wasn't involved last year. So
it was Treadwell, not Floyd?
Yeah, it was Treadwell, and Treadwell looked good. I was impressed. I think
he's a first-round pick.
He's going to play a role in this offense, and that's why when I have to stare down all of these wide receiving choices, I'm taking the best combination of talent, value, involvement in Thielen. Mike, let's talk Buffalo.
Sure.
And Baltimore. What could you learn from this game with Tyrod Taylor now in the concussion protocol?
Right.
How much did he play? And then with Baltimore not having Flacco on the field, but reports of him practicing.
So it was just a few snaps really for Taylor, and it looked bad. But then he took a sack. He hit his head on the field. So this wasn't a helmet to helmet. This was helmet to the turf type of concussion. And Peterman came in, and he looked competent. So I wasn't panicking. Let's say Peterman is now the starter for the Buffalo Bills. I'm not freaking out about him. The biggest takeaway from this game was, oh man, Charles Clay, he's getting some love. He's getting some targets. I had to add an exclamation point to that because I'm like, whoa, wow. I had to add another exclamation point to that because I'm like, holy crap, this offense is running through Charles Clay right now, and he looks sensational. I mean, they're moving him all over the field. They're trying to hit him up the middle. Charles Clay he has moved up. He is now
necessary.
He is very necessary. He is now a low-end tight end one in my rankings. From what I've seen, he's going to be targeted.
Look, the Ferraris,
they need him.
The Ferraris have been pulled off the lot. Look, Charles Clay is not a Ferrari, but he might be the best vehicle you can climb into there in Buffalo because Sammy Watkins is out the door. Zay Jones is a rookie.
Now they're saying they're hopeful that Jordan Matthews plays week 1. So this offense, take that with a grain of salt. That Jordan Matthews, who should be the #1 receiver on this team, did not play. But I still think that Charles Clay is going to be a heavily utilized guy. Shady McCoy, everything at the running back position is LaShawn McCoy. So if you're worried about usage for Shady, don't. He's on the field 100,000% of the time. But really, the biggest takeaway that I had for this, my overall summary, here's your Cliff Notes. Both offenses sucked. I mean, they were really bad. Terrence West did get the start.
It's hard to draw much out of Baltimore when you don't get to see Flacco on the field.
You have no idea. But Terrence West got the start at running back. Buck Allen was worked in here and there. We don't know what Buck Allen's role will be once we actually finally see Danny Woodhead getting out there. But both offenses sucked, and Charles Clay needs to move up your draft board.
Yeah, I did like seeing Zay Jones on the outside, being utilized as the more of an X receiver. And man alive, Jeremy Maclin, will you please do something in the regular season? Because I'm still drafting you in a lot of play drafts. I just come on,
guys,
Joe Flacco, get back.
I've
get
tried
back,
to tell you. I've tried to
but
tell
this
you.
This is still without
impossible.
Joe Flacco. You just can't know. I'm not taking anything from preseason other than worry. I'm not changing my projections here because but
the worry is built in because you didn't get to have your opinion validated by a healthy Joe Flacco.
Right.
You have to wait for the regular season.
Ryan Mallett is.
Oh, he's no good.
He is
no good. There's no such thing as a compliment sandwich for Ryan Mallett.
Yeah.
Right?
Here's Ryan Mallett's compliment sandwich. Ryan, good job making it to the NFL.
You did it, buddy.
You are not an NFL quarterback. You are not good enough to be in the NFL. But when you retire, you can tell your kids you were an NFL quarterback.
He got further than I did.
You put it nicely there.
Yeah.
I'd give him his walking papers.
Whew.
All right. Hey, thanks for tuning in. We're going to go through the rest of the games tomorrow, our observations, our conclusions. These are the most important ones that you can make. These are going to be the most ranking-defining conclusions you can make because preseason week 4, look away. Look away. I mean, it's just not going to be outside of injuries that impact teams, which, again, you're just not going to see a lot of those important players on the field. This is the last and final look that we get before next week. I mean, next Thursday, a week from this Thursday, you've got NFL football. So I'm excited. Keep it right here. We've got great shows coming up. We got so much coming your way. We've got bold predictions. We have the rest of the preseason, and look,
we got some fantasy court maybe coming your way.
It's going to be good. And if you haven't drafted yet, it's not too late to get into the Ultimate Draft Kit at ultimatedraftkit.com. This is
still being updated.
Still being updated, and you're talking on the fly. We had just arrived in Toronto, and we're sitting there having to make quick adjustments on the Edelman news, on the Spencer Ware news, and now the Cameron Meredith news. And so you're going to see a lot of tweaks and adjustments to the Ultimate Draft Kit.
And
Brooks,
now, once the show is done, Vance McDonald
switching
right
rosters, and you'll see the implications there. Look, everything's happening, and we've had a lot of people already use the UDK for their draft and send us their teams and how much fun they had. Smashing it. Not with Smash Jackson.
Well, they're smashing it sans Smash Jackson.
All right, hey, look, we're closing it out here. Don't forget to check out the Secret to Victory podcast from Gatorade and Gimlet Creative. Look, this is a podcast about how the best athletes in the world use defeat to fuel a win, and they just finished their first season with Serena Williams, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, Matt Ryan, J.J. Watt, Karl Anthony Towns, etc. So you can listen to all those episodes at Gatorade.com/podcast. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Guys, you have any parting words? You catch your breath from this Toronto trip?
I'm still catching it.
I want to say this. One more thing. Sorry to interrupt.
No.
Canadians are very nice.
Oh, they are. Some of the stuff we did down there probably wouldn't have flown well with, Americans. They would be like,
Shut up, Jason.
The joke's getting old. No, they were always so kind.
Very kind people there.
But I just can't wait till tomorrow to talk about Jared Goff.
Oh, and remember, ballerslive.com, the live show is coming this Monday.
And check out playdraft.com/ballers if you want to play some Week 1 draft DFS. It's the best.
Oh, yeah. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.